Hey guys, this is Pratik and you're watching Technocrat. We'll talk about sound in this video. Sound is a very beautiful stimuli given to us by God. We are able to perceive it through our ears. We have come with vocabulary, we have come with languages, and we can share our thoughts and ideas with it. We can also express ourselves. We listen to many pleasant sounds like the breeze and the sea waves. Thousands of music instruments, and music has become an integral part of our culture. But I feel that the real leap forward for mankind was when we were able to record, store and transmit this sound which we called as audio. This is the first video in the series Understanding Audio. I know that most of you might already be knowing about all this. But then I just want this video to be like a prelude for the entire series. If science is not for you, this video is also not for you. Please skip it. So let's see how sound is created. Sound is basically a wave. A wave is created when there is a disturbance in the medium. When there is a disturbance in the medium, that disturbance travels in all directions. So basically there are two types of waves, as you might know. The longitudinal waves and the transverse waves. In a transverse wave, when a wave travels through the medium, the particles of the medium oscillate perpendicular to the direction of propagation of the wave. They have crusts and troughs. You find these waves on the surface of water. Whereas coming to longitudinal waves, the particles in the medium move along the direction of the propagation of the wave. So sound is a longitudinal wave. We generally have a misconception that the particles in the medium also move along with the wave. But the fact is that these particles have an average position or a mean position. They just execute SHM or simple harmonic motion along this mean position. When a transverse wave propagates through the medium, the particles in the medium move perpendicular to the direction of propagation of the wave. These waves have crusts and troughs, and these waves are mostly found on surface of water. Whereas on the other side, in longitudinal waves, the particles of the medium move along the direction of the propagation of the wave. They have compressions and rarefactions. Sound waves are basically longitudinal waves. Generally, we have a misconception that the particles in the medium move along with the wave. But the fact is that they just move along a mean position, or they have the same average position. They just execute SHM or simple harmonic motion along this position. Now let's discuss about the properties of waves in general, like frequency, wavelength and speed. Frequency is just the number of waves that a source is able to produce in a unit time. Frequency only depends on the source, because the more disturbances the source creates, the more is the frequency of the wave, and similarly the less number of disturbances it's able to create in a unit time, less is the frequency of the wave. Now next, coming to speed. Speed is a property that is only dependent on the medium. When a wave is traveling through a medium in which the particles are very closely packed, the speed of the wave would be higher, and similarly if the particles are not closely packed, then the speed of the wave would be lesser. And next, coming to wavelength. Wavelength is just the inverse of frequency. It means that wavelength is dependent on both frequency and speed. Wavelength is calculated as speed divided by frequency. Now let's see particularly how sound travels. Just as there is something called radiation pressure when an electromagnetic wave travels, there is something called a pressure wave when a sound wave travels. This pressure wave just moves the particles in the direction in which the wave is propagating. As just discussed earlier, the speed of sound varies in different mediums, and it is just dependent on the medium. So the speed in air is something around 330 meters per second, the speed in water is something around 1400 meters per second, and the speed in steel is as high as 5000 meters per second. You might also have heard about something called Doppler effect. This is a very interesting effect which has many implications, like finding the speed of the source which is producing the sound. What exactly happens in Doppler effect is that a source that is producing sound, if it is moving towards you, you perceive as if the sound has a higher frequency than it's actually being produced at. And if the source is moving away from you, you perceive as if the frequency is less compared to what it's actually being produced by the source. Most of you might have experienced it in railway stations when a train which is whistling coming towards you or going away from you. There are also few other properties of sound like pitch, timbre and loudness. Pitch is something related to music. A musical note having a higher frequency is said to be at a higher pitch, and a musical note which has a lower frequency is said to be at a lower pitch. Now coming to timbre. Timbre is the perception or the quality of sound which helps you distinguish between different sounds. It is through timbre that you are able to distinguish between a male voice, a female voice or a child's voice. Through timbre, you are constantly trying to differentiate between the sounds even though they are not very clear to you. Loudness is a parameter that you might be familiar with. Loudness is how loud or how soft you perceive a sound to be. Loudness is directly proportional to the intensity or the amplitude of the sound. Loudness is basically measured in decibels. Sound is basically logarithmic in nature. It means that, say suppose the loudness is increased from 10 to 20 decibels, then the amplitude is multiplied by 10 times. This is the first video in the series Understanding Audio. I've also made very interesting videos like how a microphone works, how a speaker works, what is bitrate, what is noise cancellation, and what is bit depth, what are the different kinds of file formats. I'm glad that you wanted to learn something new today and hope that you have learned something from this video. I know that this might be very familiar too, but as I've already said, I just wanted this to be like an introduction to the entire series. Do watch the other videos to have a better understanding about audio. Always believe in science and make the best possible use of technology. And thanks for watching. Bye bye.